Teresa with SmokingHotCigarChick.com. Right now I'm smoking a Lancaster. It's a Winston Churchill. You've probably seen the red tins. There's a Spitfire that comes in a red tin as well. It's more of a petite Corona. This is a Belicoso. I'm a big fan of this cigar, honestly. I think the blend works great in this size. It's a very flavorful smoke. It's a medium bodied. And it's for me, it makes me think of kind of like the Davidoff profile that I like. It's got definitely get like a woodsy oak cask kind of flavor to it. A little bit of like a grassy hay-like note that I'm a big fan of. I actually like that flavor quite a lot. Some little bit of earth, a little bit of sweetness, but primarily I get that wood factor. Now the cigar by itself, that's what I get the flavor out of. Recently I've been playing with a couple pairings, and one completely accidental, and I'm surprised it worked out, and I'm still surprised it works out, but I'll talk to you more about that one in a second. The other pairing is the one I actually intended with the cigar. I have a bottle here of the Glenmorangie. This is the 12-year aged in a burgundy wood finish. This one's actually, I believe, a bit more difficult to find now. I don't know that they're still making it available. I'm a big fan of burgundy casks. It's got just such a decadent, rich flavor that maybe an acquired taste. I think sometimes the Winston Churchill might be that as well. Either you love it or you hate it. I happen to love it. So with this, because of the woodsy character of the scotch, it still also has some like honey, vanilla kind of qualities to it. Maybe a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of just more of like a rich tone to it. I wanted to see how that would go with the cigar because of the cask. For me, I think oak, I think burgundy. I want to see what happens when you mix the two together. So I have a glass with me here. And I just tried it. I love the nose on this. There's some scotches I can just sit here and smell all day long. It's just, and that just, I mean, it goes to show how much the nose really plays into flavor. Very much like the cigar itself, especially if you're retrohaling. You get, it just changes the whole dynamic and perception of the taste. What's amazing to me, hang on, I gotta do that again, I'm sorry, it was really good. What's amazing to me is just how much the flavor consistency changed. It's still medium bodied, but that kind of dry characteristic I was getting earlier, like the grassy notes, the hay-like kind of flavors, kind of dissipate into more of a smoky consistency, if that makes sense. You get more of more from the burgundy cask. It makes it, you can kind of taste, for me I taste more like coffee notes, I taste like cocoa notes, I taste definitely like a buttery richness. I definitely the vanilla that I'm pretty sure is coming from the scotch more so than the cigar, but it's an interesting a blend from the previous flavors I was getting from the cigar originally. It definitely changes, and I still get the finish that I do from the scotch itself, but it doesn't overpower the cigar. It doesn't take away. It really complements it. It takes it in a different direction. Now, what happened a couple days ago? I was smoking one, and I had been outside all day. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside. I wanted a cigar. I didn't want to be outside, so instead of going for scotch, I went for a refreshing cocktail. So I made a last word, which consists of equal parts of maraschino liqueur, green chartreuse, gin, and lime juice. I try to be careful when I'm using anything that's acidic, just because I get scared that it's going to cut off the finish of the cigar, or take away a characteristic that, there's a lot of risks involved there. I think with this beverage in particular, it works okay just because of all the components in there. You have, the herbal qualities happening from the green chartreuse. You have the maraschino liqueur, which has its very own unique flavor profile, and then you have the gin, of course, with the botanicals. Now this to me is a very refreshing, delicious cocktail, especially on a summer day. Now with the cigar, an interesting thing happened, and I'm going to have to do it again real quick. But those flavor notes that I mentioned previously were like those kind of grassy, hay-like qualities that kind of disappeared when I had the scotch. For me, now that kind of becomes more of the forefront. I don't get that rich, crazy oakiness anymore. Now I'm going more towards a floral, herbal kind of aspect, and I think that's coming from the cocktail itself. But it plays interesting with the tobacco, and it's funny to me just how easily it can change. And that says a lot, too, about how a cigar will taste with what you're drinking, what you've eaten before, and, of course, your mood. But I think it's fun. I mean, I think it's a cigar that you'll enjoy. Well, if this is your taste profile, again, with the whole hay-like kind of quality taste going on, if you love it or hate it, I think it's a cigar that's great by itself. But I think it's interesting that if you tend to more maybe full-bodied cigars, smoky, more complex kind of characteristics, I think something like, again, like this Burgundy Cask Glenmorangie would be something that's fun to kind of take the cigar into a different direction. But at the same time, if you're saying, you know, maybe I don't like smoky, I want something that's a bit smoother, a bit easier, a bit more refreshing on the palate, a cocktail like this kind of takes it to that other direction. So it's kind of cool that you can have, you know, this tin, it has 4 cigars in it, and each person can kind of have their own unique experience and make the best out of the night. So that's kind of a cool thing that I discovered accidentally here in my house. But what about you? Have you experienced with something like that with cocktails? Have you had a cigar that was okay on its own and then took it to a different direction when you had your favorite beverage? And if so, what beverage was that? Also, if you had the reverse, where, you know, your favorite cigar just completely fell apart when you paired it with your favorite scotch, just something happened and you couldn't understand it. I'd love to hear your stories. I think it's really interesting to see all the different combinations and what happens when we start experimenting in that way. Alright, I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care. Bye.